This episode of Heroes of the Horn is brought to you by Chip Sadai. Wrapped in the void, he was only distantly aware of the weariness, dimly perceiving the ache in arms and shoulders, in the small of his back a throb around the tender scar in his side. That he was aware of them at all told the story.
Welcome to Heroes of the Horn, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sir Matt.
And I am Sir Ezra. Welcome to our Wheel of Time book club. The horn has sounded, and we have answered the call. Today we are covering The Fires of Heaven, Part 5, Chapters 36 through 43.
Yes, as back at it here, and, we talked about this on YouTube. I don't think we talk about the movies, the Wheel of Time movies on the podcast?
I don't know that we have. I can't remember if we have or not. No, or maybe it just came out right when we did part 4, but I still are you saying you want to talk about the movies, because I'm all about these.
Well, I think we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it again here. I think it'll be fun and interesting. Then we got a little bit of news. But how you been, man? How's it going? You're getting ready to go on vacation again, part 2?
Okay, I feel like people are like, what's up with this? He's just going on vacation. He just thinks he can just go do whatever he wants. Gotta live a little bit, man. No, actually, my vacation I got cut a little bit short in Costa Rica. I had some stuff going on down there. That's where I went, by the way. Costa Rica, crazy place. If you can drive in Costa Rica, you can drive anywhere. I'm a firm believer. Matt, I was driving up hills. Like, if you go look at the video version of this podcast, I mean, straight up. I mean, I was going up mountainsides, and the car at one point, I think it's gonna stall out. I was like, it's going to stall out. I'm a goner. And people were passing me, and big trucks are passing me. So anyways, I was in Costa Rica. Now, because of some life situations, we are continuing the podcast where I'm taking my podcasting equipment with me. I have some really good internet over in Germany. But yeah, I'm taking a little trip over to...
Wow, just international man of mystery.
Hey.
Do you use a Waygate to get there, or how do you do it?
Well, I wish. That way I didn't have to fly. That way I didn't have to, necessarily. I'm crossing an ocean. It's the first time I've crossed the ocean, the big pond. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous. So, but
it's the Atlantic Ocean. It's not like it's not the Pacific Ocean, but
an ocean's an ocean, and I don't like swimming in the ocean, and I sure as heck am not. I mean, I think flying is gonna be a little bit safer. I'm just glad I'm not flying Spirit. Okay. Yeah, it's flying casual. Yeah.
God.
Did you? I was on.
Spirit's terrible.
I was on TikTok or Twitter or something, and I saw a video of. You remember I called you from Costa Rica. I had to change my flight, and I went to Houston instead of flying Spirit and going to Fort Lauderdale. And buddy, let me tell you right now, that flight was delayed for 3 days. Like Fort Lauderdale was shut down because of a hurricane. And I'm so glad I switched up my flight. And then I saw on TikTok these flights that were coming into Florida around that hurricane. It's scary, man. The lights are off, oxygen masks are dropping. And I'm like, what in the world? I should have never. Why did this come across my feed? And I feel like the more I talk about it now, I'm going to open up TikTok later. First thing I'm going to see, airplane distress. And I'm like, God dang it.
Wow. Well, I will say Spirit is good for short flights. If you're flying short, Spirit's just fine. Because I've flown Spirit from Portland to Vegas before, and that's like an okay flight. I wouldn't do anything longer than that.
Right.
But you can also get tickets for $10. So
yeah.
It's kind of like ordering something off wish.com. All right. I wish it's the right thing, but typically it's not.
Yeah.
But hey, guys, we're not here to plug Spirit Airlines. Okay. They don't help us pay our bills. Okay.
That's true.
You know who does, Ez? I mean, we got an announcement to sort of make today.
Yeah, we do. This is really cool. I'm actually super pumped about this, and I came across friends here know we do several podcasting projects. We work on Heroes of the Horn, Bend the Knee, Hyperspace Hangout. We've even Matt's got his own, video game podcast, Box Trick. We've got other things. I work with Lane, my buddy Lane on Uptalk and Tolkien, and I came across Minute Media. Minute Media kind of came out and spoke to Lane and I, and through getting to know them and Patrick and Fansided, this network this opportunity emerged. And so we have been, talking with them over the last week or so. Talked to Patrick. He looked at the podcast, listened in on Matt and I, and said, "Let's go, fellas. Let's come join the network."
Okay, let's go.
Here we are. And I love this. And they're wonderful folks, and they're actually really, really cool. And it's just kind of nice as a podcaster to have a network where you can kind of help one another. You can guest on shows. We can pick up some ads and things like that. Because really, I mean, Sir Matt, I don't think people understand. And I think
you got to pay the bills.
Yeah. And also it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do this kind of stuff. And we love it. We want it to be kind of our work. We love making content and making, groups and spaces where people can come and talk about things like this. And it's one of our favorite things to do. So we love doing it, but also it's nice when we can kind of, stick an ad in there at the beginning. So you might hear some mid-roll, at least one mid-roll, maybe a pre-roll ad here and there from just our new venture here. And I think it's a good thing for us. So if you guys notice that change, that shift in the podcast, bear with us. And that's just kind of what's going on. But what I think is even better. So first of all, thank you to them. Happy to be here. You're going to hear that across all of our other podcasts and things. And it's a good opportunity for us. We then get like these other ads that I've always wanted. So I'm a big podcast listener. Like I like to listen to podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts that I ever listened to was Rebel Force Radio. And I will never forget when they did the Me Undies promotion. I'm not promoting Me Undies right now, but I'm telling you right now, listening to those guys talk about Me Undies was one of the most hilarious things ever. And now I have
They have Star Wars Me Undies, man.
They do. I know.
Baby Yoda Me Undies.
It's amazing. So now we have this opportunity to talk about a product, and we get to kind of opt in on these things and pick the ones that you want to talk about and stuff. So this for Matt and I don't know. Is it perfect? I think it's a great kind of intro.
It's perfect. It's
into
actually,
this. Yeah.
It goes well with what we've been talking about the past week and this week. Because you know what? Sometimes you might find yourself standing there as naked as the day you were born. Okay. And you got to make sure you're looking good.
Oh my God.
And what's the best way to make sure you're looking good, as?
Oh, but you've got to trim up. You've got to get Manscaped. Let's go. So Manscaped is literally our first product that we get a chance to kind of talk about on here. And I think this is freaking awesome. We were going over before the show, who are the characters in Wheel of Time that might need this? And I didn't even think about that, but Rand desperately.
Hey, even Avienda, it's Manscaped, but sometimes,
Yeah.
And there's naked as the day she was born. I didn't write that. That's what the book says.
That's for sure. That is for sure. So yeah. Anyway, so we're pumped to kind of read this for you guys, and hopefully you'll go check it out. And also, this is a really good tool. I'm not even making this up. I actually am excited to get one of these bad boys. So, I mean, I think they're cool. I've always liked their branding on Manscaped, so I think it's awesome. So give us the intro here. Let's get into this.
Well, this summer, you got a lot going on, all right? The Olympics, the Euros, baseball, major championship and concert events are all in this summer, but you know what isn't? A wild and hairy bush, all right? You got to tame pubes with the help from our friends at Manscaped, leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Their 4th-generation performance package includes the brand-new Lawnmower 4.0. If an athlete treats their body like royalty, why not treat yours like Olympic gold? Fellas, do right by your balls and join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going with the code FANSIDED20.
Yeah, and we're going to tell you where to put that code into here in a second, but I wanted to also mention, So one of the things I love about Manscaped is their slogans and their branding, as I said. And one of the things, I went to their website, and one of the first things I saw, and I thought, this is perfect. It says, when you trim the hedges, the tree stands that much taller. And I was like, holy smokes. I'm not making that up. That's literally from Manscaped, and it's awesome. So they talk about the proper grooming, requires precise engineered tools. Not only does a man's sensitive areas require it, but hygiene demands it. I'm telling you right now, that's actually kind of true. People need to check their hygiene. All right. I think it's important, and it's something we don't talk enough about. And kids need educated on, especially young men growing up. You remember we all had that talk back in high school about hygiene. Manscaped should probably, be a part of that conversation as well. But so it's kind of cool. So this is their 4.0 performance package, where in which they're introducing, and I think this came out a couple months back, but it's the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. And you can get the kind of whole package, which has like the weed whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, which, by the way, thankfully I'm wearing headphones right now because, bro, the ear hair can get out of control. You guys know this. I mean, it's a legit thing. I think Loyal and I have, the bushy eyebrows too. Like, that's something that you got to tame that stuff up, man. It's not all just below the belt stuff here. So you've got the weed whacker, ear and nose, hair trimmer, crop preserver, ball deodorant. Didn't even know that was a thing, by the way, until I came across Manscaped. I'm telling you right now, it's important, fellas.
Life-changing.
Life-changing. It is what it is. So those are just a couple of those things. They're also throwing in, like, this is kind of a nice big package, right? They're throwing in some different gifts, like 2 free gifts, performance boxer briefs, and the Shed travel bag. The branding on this is hilarious, right? You got the lawnmower, the weed whacker, the Shed travel bag. I mean, this is like legit, bro. So I just think it's awesome. So yeah, all right. Well, with that, yeah, basically the call to action here is head over to manscaped.com. You can get 20% off and free shipping when you put that fansided20 code in at manscaped.com. So it's, again, fansided20. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code fansided20. And there you go, guys. I mean, it's a great, I think even if you don't want it for yourself, I think it's a good gift, actually. I think it's a really good gift. And I mean,
it says it has a 400,000 LED spotlight.
Right.
Well,
now come on.
That's a lot. Hey, man, let the light shine upon you. Okay.
Let the light. Yeah. Hey, it gets dark sometimes, you got to
for the light. For the light.
Can you imagine? So now I'm picturing Inktar holding up the Lawnmower 4.0 saying, "For the light." And he's just trimming. He's just trimming it all up. Anyways, so there you go, friends. Yeah, first little kind of fun read through, and we'll have more of those on the show. But pumped. I'm pumped to be a part of the network, and I'm pumped to be kind of in, working with this group. And I'm hoping to get, Sir Matt and I get a chance to meet more of the other podcasters and talk to them. And it's just kind of a cool little community. And by the way, if you're into like sports podcast, Fanside is really well known for their sports podcast. They're trying to kind of bring in this other side of things where it's like fandoms, so you're looking at like some of that sci-fi nerdy fantasy type stuff. They're known for sports, and they're kind of expanding in this direction. And that's perfect for us because we're both sports guys. We love that kind of stuff, and we're into, fantasy talk. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right, as well, with that, a little bit of news here, talking about the TV show and talking about the movie. So let's talk a little bit here about the movies. Again, we talked about it on YouTube, but we'll briefly mention again. Seems like we're going to be getting some sort of movies. There's like no real details other than that. That's about it. Seems like they're going to be sort of prequel movies, plural. And we're not sure if it's going to tie in or if it's going to be standalone. There are characters who would cross over into that. Some of the Forsaken who've been around for an incredibly long time, like Lanfear. Would you go with the same actress? We don't really know. We don't know, any of the licensing rights or any of that stuff. All that's really been announced. And again, this could all completely fall through. This is one of those things that feels so early on that it could just get canceled, and that's all we ever see or hear about it. So, but interesting idea, interesting concept. More Wheel of Time sounds good, but there's some pushback by the people who've done it, because I think they worked on that 2011 Wheel of Time
pilot
that you can go find it on YouTube. And Robert Jordan wasn't particularly fond of that. So there seems to be a little bit of controversy around it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't real sure because I from what I had read and what we talked about on YouTube is that one of the show consultants for Wheel of Time, Sarah, was on her Twitter and had said something about possibly knowing some of the individuals who were either producing or possibly writing or working on these prequels. And so there was a gentle kind of tie to the Amazon show, but nothing official. And one of them, as you said, it was revealed either worked on the pilot or I'm not really sure the media company that is backing this or how, the rights were given to this. Do I like the idea? Do I think it's cool that you would have a Wheel of Time prequel show and that we would go back to the Age of Legends and make it just a nice trilogy that would complement the show? I do, but what I want to see, I would love to see something like a Lanfear actress be cast in the Wheel of Time series and then go play in the movies. And I don't know that's going to happen unless it's backed by Amazon or they don't feel like they're going to be connected. You want the Trollocs and you want the costumes and stuff to look the same. So it's just tricky. I don't really know. I like the idea, but it's not so sure how I feel about not really having a studio behind it. So,
yeah. Interesting. We will see. Okay, as we have another little bit of news, JordanCon, as you know, was this weekend. We're currently in recording this, and Rafe Judkins came out and said, "Hey, we're filming season 2. Hey, hi to everybody at JordanCon." He said that we will see the trailer by the end of the summer.
Yeah, by the end of the summer.
So he seemed a little nervous when he was speaking, but I guess he says he gets a little nervous when he speaks publicly. Now, you and I jokingly on this podcast have joked quite a lot about Rafe. Just go look at his time on Survivor. Not as a producer, of course, as a contestant of Survivor. Right. And so I don't know, man. I'm gonna be a Debbie Downer here. End of the summer. Comic-Con's next week. Okay. What is going on? Are they trying to bury this trailer?
Okay.
Something's off.
Hold on. So I did a little bit of research here on this.
I need Ez to bring me back to the light on this, guys, because
Matt's going down a dark path.
Sir Jimmy and I think something's wrong.
Okay.
We,
let me salvage.
Is he a false showrunner? I mean, what is happening?
Is he a false showrunner? Oh my God, dude. That's no, he is not. Let me back him up here. So this is shout out to dragonmount.com. So if you are into Wheel of Time, you probably know about Dragon Mount. Good community, good on YouTube, good on their blog. They had I think it's Adam. Oh gosh, I forget his last name. He goes by Wurthead. I think it's Whitehead. Isn't that his last name? Sorry, Adam. I'm totally blanking right now.
Yeah. He writes for a lot of different stuff.
Adam Whitehead. Yeah, Adam Whitehead. Yeah, he's one of their TV bloggers. So he's been writing about film and television and Wheel of Time for quite a bit. This is an article that he wrote about as to why we will not get a trailer. So before Rafe announced that it would be at the end of the summer, he was already saying that he does not think we're going to get a trailer during Comic-Con. So he was right about that. I don't think he had any inside information on that. I think he was looking at a very recent shift in Amazon's promotional thing. So basically, let me read some of this to you guys here. And again, go check out their blog, dragonmount.com. Go look up this post. But he said a big moment will come when the show unveils its first proper trailer for the series. Some are hoping that will come at this year's virtual Comic-Con event where the Wheel of Time showrunner or shadowrunner, Rafe Judkins, will be appearing on a panel with several other writers and creatives. This is the only Wheel of Time related event at Comic-Con concurrently scheduled. The panel takes place at 11 a.m. On the 23rd of July, so coming up here soon. However, it appears doubtful that this will actually be the case. The panel is a sequential series of relatively brief discussions, first with Judkins and then You've got other showrunners for other shows, it looks like, right? The event is relatively low-key. I think if Amazon were planning a launch for the TV show as soon as September or maybe early October, they'd go all in with a full virtual Comic-Con panel. So he's kind of saying this panel might be a little bit lighter than what we are thinking it's going to be. Like, you're not going to have actors up there. You're not going to have different individuals.
Yeah, and just it's virtual.
Yeah, which is fine. Now, this post doesn't show it, but there was it was someone else on DragonMount.com also said that Amazon has shifted the way they promote things. Instead of doing like a 6 months out or 8 months or whatever it might be, a thing, about a month or two prior or 3 months at max. Which Matt's probably thinking like, right, okay, it's July, bro. Like, when is this going to be? Is it going to be December? I mean, when's the show? We don't actually know the exact date.
Well, end of the summer is September.
Right. So let's see, 3 months. So this makes sense. If they're going to do what this individual said is that Amazon recently has been doing massive promos where basically they're saturating everything that they can with that show. They're throwing it in your face over and over and over in a lot of different ways, and they're bombarding you all at once and not making you wait that long. They're not making you wait 6, 8, 9 months or whatever. They're saying, no, just wait a month or two and this is out, or this is coming out in the next month. And so he was trying to hint that this is a new tactic that they're trying, and they're seeing if it makes, more success. Whereas we were thinking, if you don't have a trailer and you're not ready to go, is it because the show's bad, or you're not, why wouldn't you want to promote it earlier or sooner? And then we thought pandemic, COVID, you don't have all the shots that you want. You're still really rapidly working on it, and you're trying to meet this window where it's not competing against other shows. Or is it just that they have a very different tactic as far as promoting it that maybe Rafe has nothing to do with? I mean, that is what they were kind of saying on Dragon Mount, and I thought, well, that's interesting. They had mentioned other shows, by the way, so they had backed it up with like other shows that have done this on Amazon.
Right, Amazon shows, yeah.
And they're not saying it's successful or anything at all. They're just saying it's a tactic that it seems like they're trying. Right. Yeah. So that maybe when they don't more hopeful, I guess.
When Amazon certainly doesn't have the catalog that any of the other streaming companies do.
Right.
I mean, because it's just what's interesting is I'll use a Disney Plus show, like let's say The Mandalorian, right? Mandalorian season 2, we got a trailer, months and months and months ahead, and it was only like the first 4 episodes, and a lot of things will do that. Hey, that's how Disney does it. At least here, they'll show you a lot from those first sort of few episodes, then they'll do another trailer going forward. But it seems like they do it so far ahead. And then, you'll get more TV spots and stuff as you get closer and closer. Well, what the interesting thing here is that we know the first 6 episodes have been done, and you've been sitting on footage for so long. So like, so the way we view it is like, what's the problem? Like, is there, and then the little bit of promotional material we've gotten, especially with like Blousegate, right? Like, why did we see just her eyes? And then, this one sort of leaked, not supposed to come out, but it does. And so it's like things seem a little fishy with it, and it's like, what's going on? They didn't want that to come out, but it leaked, and then they're kind of, and then they delete it, and what's the choices of what they picked and stuff. And so I'm just playing the Dark One's advocate here.
I know you are, and that's fine with me. That's why I'm trying to bring the light back here and say that a false shadow has been cast over Rafe, perhaps, and he maybe has nothing to do with the promotionals, which actually kind of makes sense, right? He's the show runner.
Hopefully, you have producers.
And hopefully he's like, and I think this is what he'll talk about maybe a bit at the panel, because sometimes we only have that one person's name and we just throw everything at Rafe, or like, with Dan and Dave for Game of Thrones. Like, if there's a promotional issue, is it also their job to do that, kind of thing too?
It's kind of like in Star Wars, how we praise Dave Filoni, the showrunner, and Jon Favreau, the showrunners, but then we criticize the holy heck out of Kathleen Kennedy.
Right. And she hired those guys.
He was like the producer. She's like the executive, right? And so, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, exactly. We won't criticize the directors for some of the sequels in Star Wars, but we will criticize.
I will criticize.
I know you will. I know you will. Yeah, I know. I know.
I'll
you're
talk
right.
about Ryan Johnson all day long.
Oh my God. No, anyways, so I think this is good, and maybe it was nice to have someone come out and kind of share that with audiences and stuff, because Rafe's done a good job of saying, brace for the show, brace for it to be different. He's helping I think the book reading fandom that's already there, the Wheel of Time, the Wheelers right now, adjust to what will be a TV show and love it and get behind it and share that, because that's going to help them push it and promote it and drive in ratings and reviews and all that kind of stuff. But it was nice to have someone kind of come out and say, hey, this could just be an Amazon tactic. Nothing wrong with the show, but it might be a poor marketing strategy, or maybe it's a successful one. We haven't seen, we don't really know what to think yet, but you just, when you're used to something, right, Sir Matt, like when you're used to a certain way in which other streaming services or studios release and promote stuff, and it doesn't go that way, you start to think, oh, wait, are they either doing something different, or did I miss something, or is this bad? And I don't think it's bad. I think it's, right. I'm hoping that it's just different. So, yeah. So.
Okay. All right. As well, let's move over to our reread today. So a little less chapters today, but they were a little bit longer. Yeah. So we did space this out. This book, we sort of spaced these out into parts with roughly, it's about 5 hours of content to read per episode. So let's see here. So we have we're doing chapters 36 through 43. So chapter 36, a new name. Chapter 37, performances in Samara. 38, an old acquaintance. 39, encounters in Samara. 40, the wheel weaves. 41, the craft of Kin Tover. 42, before the arrow. And 43, this place, this day, which will probably be our extended edition episode over on Patreon, and then soon Apple Podcast Premium. So chapter 36, a new name. Elaine is watching Brigitte sleep, listening as she calls out for Gai'don to wait for her. Brigitte looks better than she did earlier, but is still pale and drawn. Nynaeve eventually returns from her walk, and she has obviously been crying. Nynaeve tells Elaine that she would like to watch Brigitte. You sleep, I'll watch her. I have to watch her. Elaine stands up and goes outside for a walk, leaving the other two women alone. Elaine finds Tom and Julian outside by a small fire. Julian hands a silver arrow to Elaine, saying that he found it when he and Tom discovered Brigitte. They seem to know who she is, though Elaine holds her promise of not telling anyone about her. Julian and Tom tell Elaine and Nynaeve that she was acting very distraught. She cried on Tom's shoulder and apologized for every cross word she'd ever said to him. Elaine decides that Tom and Julian deserve to know at least some of what's going on. She tells them about Teleron Riyadh and Mogadeen, the Black Aja, and the Forsaken. She tells them that they may leave if they wish, but they both say that they'll stay. Elaine goes back into the wagon that she shares with Nynaeve. She manages to get Nynaeve to go to bed, and although Elaine had intended to stay up and watch Brigitte, she falls asleep too. When she awakens, it is to find Brigitte is awake. They speak for some time, and Brigitte decides to be Elaine's warder and friend. The next morning, Nynaeve is waiting on Brigitte hand and foot, since she still feels that it was her fault that she was pulled out of Teleron Riyadh. They leave the wagon, and Brigitte ends up betting Valen Luca that she can outshoot him. 100 crowns of gold to his 1. She shoots 4 arrows at a target, the second 2 splitting the first 2 right down the shaft. Luca is delighted. He decides that instead of having Tom throw knives at Nynaeve during the show, he will have Brigitte shoot arrows at Nynaeve. Brigitte tells Luca to call her Marion, since that was her name during once of her former lives. So yeah, kind of interesting chapter here. I mean, Brigitte Silverbow, or Brigitte Silverbow, as I'll probably go back and forth, and we say that every time, but that's just how it is. Brigitte Silverbow is in the real world now.
Yep.
And she is now Elaine's warder.
Yeah.
And it's not, and the summary here on tarvalin.net says that Brigitte decides to be Elaine's warder and friend. That's not sort of exactly how that goes down. It's more like Elaine makes her warder. That was an interesting choice of words on the summary there.
Right. I think
we didn't write these summaries, by the way.
No. Yeah. Shout out to them, by the way. Yeah, Tarvalon Library, great place, a great resource for that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a good point. There is, I think, she does it. The bond is done to save her life, and to preserve her, but she eventually kind of, after she tells a story. So here is Brigitte talking about a warder. She's like, I think I remember hearing a tale of a female warder, but it was in a life so long ago that I cannot remember more than that. It was time for another deep breath, and this time she had to force the words. There is something you should know. You will discover it sooner or later, and I've decided not to keep things from people who have a right to know. Not unless it's an absolute must. So this is Elaine talking. She takes a third deep breath and she says, I'm not Aes Sedai. I'm only accepted. And so now not only do we have a female warder, but we have an accepted who's bonded someone. And then Brigitte kind of says, she holds off. She says, during the Trolloc Wars, an accepted actually that she knew bonded a fellow. She was due to be tested the next day for raising to full Aes Sedai and certain to be given the shawl, but she was afraid that a woman testing that same day would take the person who she wanted to be as her warder. So she bonded someone before she was Aes Sedai. Elaine's kind of like, well, what happened? During the Trolloc Wars, the Tower was raising women as quickly as they could to the shawl so that way they could fight in the Trolloc War. And she's like, needless to say, once it was discovered, even though it was of necessity or what have you, and it was a time of war, this offense was not taken lightly. And so it wasn't, the bonding didn't go about a certain sequence of events as it should have, right? So Elaine, I'm sorry, not Elaine, but this accepted was punished, and she had to work in the kitchens, and she had to do a lot of different penance that the Amerlin seat gave her, and they moved the warder, they removed the bond, and they passed his bond to someone else. So keep that in mind. Something new that you can do. You can pass these bonds if you want to, right? So I thought that was kind of cool.
Wow, sounds like possibility of one land Mandragoran's bond being passed.
Maybe.
Possibility.
It's possible. It's possible. We know it's a possibility now. So, yeah. I thought
can you break the bond? Can you say, okay, you're done. You don't have to be my warder anymore?
I think they can. That's a really good question. I think you can release.
Are you bonded? Or do you have to have a bond for like ever?
I think you can release it. I think, but I know the transfer is a thing. But I remember like when Moraine is talking about land, she's like, if I have to, I will force. Like she can use the bond to force him to do things, almost like she's compelling him to do stuff. And the only reason she would do that is if he was needlessly putting his life in danger and not obeying, which yeah, I'll have to check. I think so. I think you can.
Just be like, okay, you're done now. You can go.
Yeah. The crazy thing too with the bond, you remember like if a warder loses his Aes Sedai, he will seek death himself because that bond, he feels a loss there or something as well. So the bond is interesting. You can sense one another through it. So this is all new for Elaine and Brigitte, and they're talking about, what this bond means. I think somewhere in here she does say, something about being proud to be her friend and that she enjoys Elaine's company and things like that. So, yeah. So maybe she does kind of in a way accept it and say, I will be your warder. Not just that I'm bonded to you, but I will be your warder. So, yeah. But anyway, okay. Actually, one more quick thing too. Elaine does decide to tell Tom and Julian about the Black Aja and all the stuff that's going on, as you mentioned. And that's kind of a big deal because now they knew they were up against something when they visit the Panarch and they're fighting. They didn't even know at the time really what it was that Nynaeve and Elaine are after and what they're about. Now, like they're full in on this secret and the dangers, and she gives them the option to leave, and they're like, "Nah, we're good. We're staying."
And then let's talk. And then this is where things are going to go. This is going to be that next chapter of performances. Val and Luca challenging Brigitte. Okay, buddy. You know, that's making a wager.
And he loves it, right? He loves it. Like, she's such a good shot, and this is a talent, and it's going to add to his show, and that's all he cares about is just having the biggest and the best show. So it's kind of funny. She fits right in.
Okay. Let's move on to the next chapter here. Which is 37 performances in Samara, right? So just continuing right on here. So Nynaeve and Brigitte are dressed in their revealing red dresses for Luca's show. Nynaeve is holding her shawl tightly around herself, and Brigitte asks, if you are going to wear the dress, why cover up? Brigitte confronts Nynaeve about how she is waiting hand and foot on her. Nynaeve tries to explain that everything is all her fault. Brigitte argues that she made her own decisions and that Nynaeve is trying to make her less by claiming responsibility. Brigitte tells Nynaeve that she used to like her, but that she no longer does, with Nynaeve acting the way she is acting. After this exchange, they separate. Nynaeve begins to walk through the circus, watching as everyone gets ready. She sees Tom juggling and eating fire. She also sees a man with a top knot who looks familiar, but she is not paying much attention to him. Finally, she reaches the high rope. She and Luca watch as Julian staggers forward, looking drunk. He approaches the ladder and stares up at one of the platforms, with some people urging him on, and Luca trying to talk him out of it. Julian sets a mug down on the ground and begins to climb the ladder. He reaches the platform, swaying back and forth. He reaches out 1 foot the rope and then jerks it back, thinks, and then gets an idea. He proceeds to crawl out onto the rope. The whole time, the crowd is roaring with laughter, and Luca is trying to convince him to come back down. Halfway across the rope, Julian stops. He falls, but catches himself on the rope with one hand and a knee. He then makes his way hand over hand to the other platform. Once there, he looks back and seems to realize that he left his drink on the other side. This time, he walks smoothly across the rope and slides down the ladder. Everyone then realizes it was all an act, and the crowd loves it. Elaine appears and stops next to Julian. She is dressed in white breeches and a jacket, both of which have sequins on them. She goes up the ladder, and the crowd applauds. Elaine walks across the rope, whereas she used to weave a platform of air while practicing. Nynaeve knows that this time she is actually walking across it. When she gets to the other platform, she gets even more of an applause than Julian did. Going back, she pivots on the rope a few times. She nearly falls once, but manages to make it back to the platform. Next, she cartwheels along the rope. She does some more pivots and a backflip, and one more round of cartwheels before she finishes. When she gets to the ground, the crowd rushes towards Elaine. The man with the top knot, who also only has one eye, turns and walks away, muttering something under his breath. Nynaeve suddenly recognizes him and hurries after him. So yeah, this was kind of a fun chapter. Really, they're performing here in this menagerie. We start with Nynaeve like feeling really bad about the whole Brigitte thing. She even tells her at one point, and I don't think it's in this chapter, I think it's the next one, where she's like, if you want to miss and kill me, right? Like if you want to hit me with the arrow, I would understand why.
Yeah, and that's the part I kind of had pulled up here, which is so. When she's talking to Brigitte, she is almost offended that like she gave her life so that Nynaeve could get away. Now you want me to take it? No way. I don't think so. And also, you're not getting off the hook that easy. You've got work to do. Keep your chin up. Let's go. And she's kind of mocking Nynaeve a little bit, almost making her angry and realizing that this is a way to get her fired up and to keep her living and to keep her, whatever. So they have this conversation. Yeah, it was my foolish pride that made me think I could best her again, and my cowardice that let her. If I had not been so afraid, I could not spit. I might have done something in time. So she's talking about like when she's facing down Mo Gideon, and she's calling herself a coward, and Brigitte says a coward, right? And she's opening her eyes and just I thought you had more sense than to confuse fear with cowardice. You could have fled Teleron Riyadh when Mo Gideon released you, but you stayed to fight. No fault or blame to you that you could not. So then she goes back and forth and, basically just tries to kind of encourage her. But at the same time, when she dismisses Nynaeve and Nynaeve walks out, she's like, now don't forget to curtsy like a good little girl. And she's just like, yeah, so Nynaeve is this back and forth of frustrated, not used to being talked to like this, but Brigitte is very good at motivating people and keeping them encouraged, and so yeah.
Okay. Let's move to the next chapter here. So 38, an old acquaintance. Nynaeve hurries after the man with the top knot. She finally catches up with him, and the man Uno stops when she calls out to him. Nynaeve says that she saw him at Faldara and at Toman Head, and mentions Rand. Uno tells her that he recognizes her. He grabs her arm and starts to pull her away, but she pulls herself free. Uno mentions for her to follow him, and she does. She demands to know what he is doing. He says, "What I am flaming trying to do is take you to where we can flaming well talk without you being torn to flaming bits by flaming folk, and try to kiss your flaming hem when they find out that you flaming know the Lord Dragon." Yes.
Wow.
So yes, the word flaming there, right? That sort of, the Robert Jordan word of
swearing,
the F word, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Right. Nynaeve tells him to moderate his language. Uno tells Nynaeve that this is no place for her to be, and that he has enough coin to get her to Tyr, since that is where the rumors say Rand is. The whole time, he is trying not to swear much, and he is having some trouble doing so. Nynaeve asks what he is doing in Samara, and he replies that he and the other Shienarans had been sent by Moraine to find someone in Janaya. But when they arrived, they found that she was dead. Nynaeve then learns that Masema is the prophet of the Dragon Reborn. Uno agrees to take Nynaeve to Masema, but warns her not to mention Tar Valon, since Masema isn't very friendly towards the Aes Sedai.
Yeah, and so let me do, I guess, we did one of our Patreon episodes, our extended edition, we kind of did those come and go characters, right, Matt? We were talking about people who show up and we haven't heard from in a while, and all of a sudden they come back. So now we've got Uno, someone from the Great Hunt, showing back up here, guiding her back to what we've been hearing rumors of, this prophet of the dragon, and it's Masema. And Masema was one of the Shienarans who was first calling Rand and the Dragon Reborn Lord Dragon, and was kind of his man, and really wanted to know what he was about, what he needed, and they were great followers of him. They were with him in the Great Hunt. They saw him face down. They saw the battle in the sky over Falma. And Rand leaves, right? And he goes and abandons them and does his own thing. Well, the prophet, Masema, and these other Shienarans, they then kind of go do their own thing. They start spreading the good word. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Rand al'Thor? Do you have time to speak about the Lord Dragon today? And he's a radical guy. So he's back.
Yeah. And and again, some of these chapters are really short. Some of these were like 14 minutes and stuff like that.
That was a short one.
It feels like, wow, we just blew through like 3 chapters, but that's just sort of how some of these go. So, and then it continues again here into chapter 39, Encounters in Samara. So Nynaeve is following Uno through the streets of Samara. They meet up with one of the other Shienarans, Regan, and proceed to where Masema is staying. Uno and Regan are forced to give up their weapons before entering. Once they are inside, they are stopped and told that the prophet is busy. He is speaking to a woman who is wearing a lot of jewelry. Nynaeve is surprised about their exchange, which is about law in Gai'don. The woman hands over all of her jewelry to Masema. Nynaeve is told that that every penny goes to the poor. When the woman leaves, Nynaeve, Uno, and Regan are admitted. Masema is disapproving of Nynaeve's appearance. Uno quickly introduces her. This is Nynaeve Almera from Emsealed in the Two Rivers, where the Lord Dragon comes. She was at Faldara with the Lord Dragon and at Falma. The Lord Dragon rescued her at Falma. The Lord Dragon cares for her as a mother. Masema recognizes her and is ecstatic. He says that Nynaeve can help him, can relate to the people the first words of wisdom of the Lord Dragon and the miracles that accompanied his childhood. Nynaeve cautiously replies that the Lord Dragon has summoned her to Tyr and that she needs a riverboat in order to reach him. Masema reluctantly agrees to help her. Once Nynaeve, Uno, and Regan leave, the two Shienarans tell Nynaeve about what is happening in Ghealdan since Masema arrived. Nynaeve learns that the woman who had been speaking to Masema was Aliendra, the queen of Ghealdan. At first, she thinks that Aliendra is doing a horrible job as queen, submitting so easily to the prophet. Uno and Regan tell her that there have been 4 monarchs on the throne. Jonian thought that Masema was a harmless madman and did nothing about the crowds growing in Ghealdan. He died in a hunting accident. Elzira, who succeeded him, tried to disperse the crowds. She was poisoned. Teresia replaced her, and after she sent soldiers against folk who had gathered to hear Masema, she supposedly abdicated to marry a rich merchant, though she, of course, had no choice. Aliendra is the 4th ruler in a past year, and immediately upon gaining the throne, informed Masema that he would not be troubled again. It is only by submitting to the prophet that she keeps her life and her throne. It is then that they realize there is a white cloak following them. Nynaeve tells Uno and Regan to take the next turn so that she can get a look at his face, and it is Galad.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so what's interesting, if you have a sec, Sir Matt, pull up a Wheel of Time map, okay? Just if you have one, and take a second, I'll guide us through some of this. So there is, I think it's a good thing. After we did that Patreon episode where we talked about characters and where they've been and what has happened, it reminded me you do have to look back sometimes. And if you look at a map and you go to the if you go west, far west, that western, the Arth Ocean coast, you see Tanchico in Tarabon. This is where Elaine and Nynaeve are. Yeah, like they kind of move from west to east, and they actually sneak down past Amadisia and then up into Ghealdan. And this Samara is a town in Ghealdan. They've had, remember from the very get-go, Ghealdan has been mentioned as a place where the Red Aja were showing up to capture Logain.
Here, if you give me the permission here, for those of you for those of you watching on Patreon, or on if you're a patron, you have the ability to see the video versions of these.
Yeah, there you go.
On YouTube, and I'll screen share here and we can go through this because it's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're screen shared here. This is the 4K map that I modded.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at? We are
right. So over here to the, because originally, if you want to go back even further, so like Tyr. Remember when they're all in Tyr and this whole quest is split up, and you have Elaine kind of they get with the sea folk and they learn about the wind, the ability of the sea folk to use the one power to travel. Anyways, they get over to Tanchico, and which is if you go all the way around the coast, you're gonna see. So go around Ilion, go around Abudar, keep going, and I think right, and then there you go, over by Tanchico. So they start to kind of work down from west to east over to Ghealdan.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you'll see it there.
I'll draw again here.
And I just think it's kind of neat to look at this and remember where,
right over here.
Yeah, where everything is at, and what sort of happened, because it feels like we bounce around so much and we don't really remember where everyone was at. And I just think it's kind of cool to take a gander and go back and
yeah, I mean, yeah, things. You take that. Yeah, you take this entire path right this way, or right along that southern coast there.
Yeah. So let me check on one thing here too, because this is a tie-in with Galad. I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. Yeah, she and Nynaeve then ventured to Tanchico to save the Panarch of Tarabon from the Black Aja. They then they make their way to they are making their way to they're trying to find the other the other Aes Sedai, right? That split faction from the White Tower. But the course that they takes them through Amadisia and I think down just below the Mountains of Mist and under near Amador. And that is like we mentioned this in past episodes. That's the White Cloak like capital. I mean, that's you got a lot of White Cloaks in that area. So this is why Galad, if he's gone from the White Tower down to this region, it makes sense as to why you would run into him here in Gillidan, Samara, and this is kind of that encounter. And we don't really get to track him all the way from the White Tower down here. We just know that he hooked up with the White Cloaks, and then that's eventually where he's at. So that's a really interesting region. And for me, sometimes I have to go back and refresh myself on where the White Cloak armies are and their leaders, their generals, and Lord Commander, and what all they're doing. Yeah, you circled Falma and Toman Head. That was, again, the Great Hunt. And, yeah, and originally when we did this, like, our whole group moves north or through the Mountains of Mist and then down to Tyr. And then now we've got, like, once there's that split, and then you start jumping around like crazy, which is awesome with the way gates or the portal stones. So after, that was awesome. You're leaving Tyr, portal stone, boom, you're out near Rudion and you're in the Io Waste. And Elaine and Tom and Julian and Nynaeve, they take the sea over to Tanchico and then cut back east to Gillidan. So just cool. It's cool to kind of refresh ourselves as to where everyone's at.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. It's good to pull up that map every now and then.
Yeah. So, one more thing.
So as you dive.
Yeah, you pull up that next kind of. Let's take us to the next chapter. One more thing, as you pull that up, I wanted to mention the prophet, his power here. So that is the other queen of Gillidan, and it's like they listen. I mean, he's got the people so riled up and so stirred up. Very interesting. You think about Logain and you think about the false dragon and the following that he had. That literally gets out of control. White Cloaks can't handle it all by themselves. You got the Red Sisters, the Red Aja coming down to handle him and Gillidan, and now you've got this queen who is not bowing and scraping. At first, Nynaeve's kind of like, I can't believe she would just give in to the prophet's wishes and do what he wants and donate her money and jewelry and things. And they're like, no, I mean, she's the fourth one. Like everyone else who didn't do it, they're gone. Yeah. They're deposed. So
yeah. I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean, there's just so much turmoil, that's going on over there. How else are you gonna? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So let's see here. So now we're on to chapter 40. The wheel weaves. So Nynaeve leads Uno and Regan down a nearby ally, but Galad follows them. When Uno and Regan shield Nynaeve from him, Galad informs them that he doesn't want to kill either of them. Nynaeve tells them to let him by. Nynaeve asks what he is doing in Gillidan. Galad replies that he has had orders from Saladar, but that changed because of the prophet. As soon as Galad says the name Saladar, something clicks in Nynaeve's mind. Galad tells Nynaeve that he has been sick with worry for her and Elaine. He informs her that they will find passage for her and Elaine to Altara. And Nynaeve is stunned. Galad tells her that all he can do now, since his duty is there in Gillidan. That's all he can do now, since his duty is there in Gillidan. He asks where she and Elaine are staying so that he can get a hold of them when he finds a ship. But Nynaeve is reluctant to tell him. Galad swears on his mother's name, that he will let no harm come to them. Nynaeve finally tells him that they are with Valen Lucas' show, and Galad is shocked. He wants to buy them a room in town, but Nynaeve refuses, saying that it would attract too much attention if a White Cloak were to go to any amount of trouble to secure a room for two women, and Galad finally agrees. Nynaeve, Uno, and Regan take off and head back to Valen Lucas' show. Along the way, Nynaeve decides that having Uno and Regan around could be helpful. She learns that there are 15 Shinarans in total who are not completely devoted to Massima. She tells them that one of them will come each day to check in with her, but that they will otherwise stay away so as to not attract attention, unless a riverboat arrives. Uno and Regan leave, and Nynaeve enters the menagerie grounds. She runs into Elaine and Brigitte, who tell her that Luca, Tom, and Julian are out looking for her. Nynaeve tells them that all of this has happened, and also tells them about Saladar. Saladar is the city where the outlawed Blue Aja are regrouping. Nynaeve suddenly realizes that they have been walking towards where she and Brigitte will perform their part of the show, and tries to talk Brigitte out of it. Meanwhile, Elaine is talking about Galad, as she says that Galad will hold his oath and that they can trust him, though she does not sound as if she particularly likes it. Brigitte refuses to do the show in the morning. When Nynaeve says that the light will be better. Nynaeve is positioned against a rough wooden fence. She is thinking about how she is now facing punishment for taking so many risks. When out of nowhere an arrow embeds itself into the wood next to her, her resolve breaks with a wail. When they are done, the crowd rushes towards Brigitte. Nynaeve hurries back to the wagons. Uno comes that night to speak to Nynaeve, and she tells him to try and make Masema and Galad find a boat as soon as possible.
Yeah. So they're kind of, I forgot about this, honestly, because we follow Min and we were following Suwan, and they're trying to get to Saladar. And now we have, or Saladar, however you say it. Now we have Nynaeve hear that Galad and the White Cloaks were going there. They had orders to go there.
Right.
And instead of go pester the outlawed blue or the renegade, whatever you want to call them, rebel Aes Sedais, they are diverted, their forces diverted to Gai'don to deal with the Prophet and his uprisings and to look for dark friends there. They hate the witches of Tar Valon, and it's interesting that Galad just flat out says, this is where we were going to go, Saladar, and Nynaeve is like, holy smoke. So he says, in all the world, Nynaeve, only you would ask me the question I should be asking you, which is like, where are you going? Very well, I'll answer you. For all, it should be the other way around. I did have orders for Saladar in Altara, but all changed when this prophet fellow, what's the matter? Are you unwell? So he stops right there, sees an expression, and she realizes, bang, that's it. That's the place. That's where I'm supposed to go. How did I not know that? She was like, it was one of Eludra's fireworks going off in her mind, and she's like, okay, yeah, that's where we need to go. And Elaine has been kind of, getting on her a little bit. Where are we going? What's happening? They're just on the run, chasing the Black Aja, Mo Gideon, getting in trouble, and they didn't really have a whole lot of direction. Now here we go. Now we know where to go. But as you just read, there's tons of stuff going on. They don't want to be discovered. The prophet is a very suspicious guy. You've got uprisings, lots of things going on here. The Shanarans are not huge fans of the White Cloaks, and Galad is a White Cloak. He almost duels Uno right there in the street. She keeps them separated, and then gets back with Elaine and basically says, yeah, I know where we're going, and let's get a ship. We got to get out of here. So things are finally now picking up.
Yeah, and do you think and I guess let's talk a little bit about Nynaeve not wanting to do here she's trying to get her to back out of the
It's scary, man. I don't know that I want to do it. Like it almost feels like real for Nynaeve to be like, could die, like
I don't know. The whole time though.
Yeah.
Do you ever really worry? I mean, for me it feels more like I never felt worried for Nynaeve. It's more so like, Nynaeve, this is freaking Brigitte Silverbow. Okay.
Right.
She's literally like a hero of the Horn who's like been an archer for like thousands of years.
Right.
I think she doesn't know that. I guess she should, but she just doesn't.
She does, yeah.
Right.
Well, I think the other thing too, and I wanted to mention this, as they're going through Samar and we're in Gai'don, Nynaeve and Elaine have agreed to like not channel, not really like a little bit of channeling could give them away to the Black Aja. And we already saw the chapter with Mo Gideon saying they're with Menagerie, go track them down. So they're trying to be really discreet and careful. And I think maybe she thought, okay, if it were a normal situation, she could rely on the power a bit, but she also has to be angry, and she's really just like afraid and nervous. And so it's not something she can't really channel. So that might be a part of it. And also I just feel like this is brand new for her. I mean, actually it's the screams and it's the nervousness that make the show better. And so Luca thinks it's like awesome. He's just freaking great,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of comical.
All right. Okay. So that's kind of it for them for this week. Now we're going to shift back in these next 2 chapters, and then we'll do 43 for extended edition. So let's go to chapter 41, The Craft of Kin Tover. So Rand, as we're back, with the Aiel, Rand is overlooking the 3 camps holding the Kyrian and Tyran forces at his disposal. Their numbers are so small that he will not have a large impact on the outcome, that they will not have a large income on the battle with the Shido. Most of the Kyrian and Tyran forces are pinned down inside the city. The Kyrian and Tyran forces are under the command of Lord Weremon. Despite the fact that he immediately rushed to Kyrian when he heard of the city was being attacked, the man seems to have very little common sense. He thinks his forces alone are enough to drive the Shido off. He also seems quite ignorant of the significance of the increasing attacks on Tyr by the Ilian. Rand doesn't think it's necessary to inform him one of the Forsaken is responsible for that. Around Rand, a group of wise ones and clan chiefs gather. Rand spots Egwene and asks her if she has made a decision. Egwene says she will do what she can. Moraine disapproves of Egwene's using of the One Power in battle, but remains silent. Rand decides to get on with what he came to this place for. He starts climbing a ladder to a wooden platform, followed by a number of clan chiefs. Mounted on the platform are 2 brass-bound wooden tubes with glass lenses inside them. The devices are made by a man named Kin Tover. Rand uses one of them to study the terrain, while Ruark looks through the other. Rand sees a spear being flung with tremendous force, skewering 2 men at once. Unfortunately, the spear misses Couladin, who was standing close to the 2 men. Rand wonders what to make of that. Other than that, he sees the city and what is left of the Foregate. There are almost no Aiel in sight. Their battle plan is more or less ready, but this last look at the terrain may be useful. Couladin doesn't deserve an easy way out. Things are heating up, as.
Yeah, they are. Battle and stuff. Interesting, this Lord Weirman shows up and kind of is this one of those, is a Tyran Lord. He's with this group, and we'll kind of track him. This is one of those characters that I need to focus a little bit more on, because I was reading up on him and some of the other lords who are involved in all the stuff here in Kyrian and Tyr. And they're interesting. There's almost like a sub level to that come and go group of characters. These are like minor characters that literally long stretches where there's not a lot of them, but they come back, and we'll have to kind of keep reviewing them. So just keep that in mind as you read ahead. And if anyone wants more details on these Tyran lords and some of the lords in Kyrian, we'll try to focus on that as we go. But the looking glass, right? Or the, this invention, this tube with glass lenses that you can like look through and see far distances. It's cool because it's like technology and inventions and things coming back. We have fireworks, we see some things that that are Tyr Grial that look like ancient technology that to us is, I don't know, it's cool. It's a way to kind of blend the worlds and not know, is this the future or the past, or where are we at in this whole world? But yeah, he uses that looking glass to look ahead, look at the fighting that's going on. Yeah, I see your face. What's up?
Oh, no. I'm just listening.
Oh.
I'm listening to you.
Oh, got you. I thought. Yeah. So
no, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's So this is the setup for they're here at the edge, and we're looking at Couladin, and he does not deserve an easy way out. He's pissed because it's almost like the Aiel now it's a dark mark on them because the Shido are doing this. Even the Tyran lords are kind of confused. Like, you're with these people? These are the people who are sacking the city and who are killing and doing all sorts of terrible things. And they see the Aiel all as one group. Rand knows better. They're different clans and factions, and the Shido are out on their own, led by Couladin, and it doesn't look good. And it's going to be hard because Kyrian is a place where they've had a lot of drama in the past. The Aiel War was basically fought with Kyrianen. And so, yeah, this is not, it's almost like a recipe for disaster. I mean, it's like Rand, remember, I think it was last time he says to the clan chief something about like he would hang any man who basically didn't follow his rules or didn't follow. Yeah. I think he knows how dangerous this is. It reminds me of that Lord of the Rings quote where it's like, stray but a little, like the quest is on the edge of a knife, stray but a little this way or that, and this could all go wrong. So
yeah, because you're bringing Aiel further and further west.
Yeah,
just never a good good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, Ez, let's move over to last chapter for today, which will be chapter 42. Then again, chapter 43 will be a part of our extended edition. So before the arrow. So this is one of those two-parter point of view chapters here. So Matt is drinking wine in the tent he shares with Melindara. He has several days now to think about the Battle of Head. He is not a soldier, no matter what the memories in his head say, and he thinks it's time to leave. Maybe he'll go to Caemlyn or to Lugard. Matt gets up and goes to the tent Rand uses. He finds no one there except Rand's bard, Natail. Matt doesn't like the man, and he asks if Rand will be back soon, but Natail doesn't seem to know. Matt looks at the map in the tent displaying Cairhien and the forces around it. Apparently, the Shaido have as much as 160,000 spears around Cairhien, and the 4 clans that have chosen sides yet about as much. Together, their forces number the same as Rand's. It looks like he can take on one or the other, but not both. Lan walks in and asks Matt if he thinks Rand should try and crush the Shaido now. And caught up in the military planning, Matt replies without thinking. He says no for 2 reasons. First, they might push the Shaido over the city wall into Cairhien. That would surely mean a bloody battle inside the city. The best thing to do is to try and shove them away. With the right positioning of forces, they can push Couladin across the river. Lan asks what the second reason is, and Matt says 4 other clans might decide to join the battle on the Shaido side. That would mean Rand has an enemy at his back. According to Lan, Ruark doesn't know which way they will go yet. The warder nods at Matt's explanation, and Matt calls himself a fool for letting himself go like that. Rand arrives, and Matt blurts out that he means to leave. Rand doesn't try to stop him. He wishes him a safe journey and good luck until they meet again. Matt feels relieved when he leaves the tent, but in his head, he hears the dice rattling. Yeah. And that is a pretty cool little exchange in there, because he talks about how it goes much further into it in the chapter about how Perrin had to leave too, and Rand wouldn't try and stop him and wishes him the best and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so this is it's almost a little bit of manipulation. You see Rand kind of hardening here, and Lan, they've talked. There's a conversation before this whole chapter takes place in which Rand is essentially like, something with Matt. Matt has a purpose here, and he's a strategy guy. There's more than meets the eye. He's talking in the old tongue. We've seen him battle. We've seen him he's Taviran. They use Lan to get him to look at the map, and basically, like, Matt wants nothing to do with this. At the start of the chapter, you're right. He says, I'm not a hero, nor am I a soldier, and I need to just go do my own thing. I need to I need to dice it up. I need to drink. He could use a nice, young lady out on the road. I mean, maybe Melindara wants to go with him. He just wants to be out on the road free, doing his own thing. He doesn't like that he's Taviran necessarily and bound to Rand. He knows that he has to do some of these things, and he's trying to get used to that. Rand knows that there's nothing he can do, and he's basically like, he knows that Matt has a role to play, and he needs him now. So he uses Lan to have him come in, look at the map, see the strategy, talk about the Shaido, the other clans, what would Matt do? And Matt basically spills some beans on strategy with Lan, and Lan then reports it to Rand. And Matt's like, bloody warder. Like, I should have kept my mind focused, and I need to get out of here. And as you said, the dice are rattling, and he's thinking about all these different things in his part to play in the battle to come. So, yeah.
Okay, so next chapter is the next part of this chapter. So we shift over to Rand's point of view. Rand asks Lan if it was all like the last phrases Rand caught before coming in. The warder replies, Matt laid out their basic battle plan with a few glances at the map. The warder doesn't ask any questions. They are not Rand's to give anyway. Rand knows he will draw Mat in again, and he will use the new military skill his friend has. But right now, there is another battle that needs their attention. The clan chiefs enter, followed by a Weramon. The man will cause problems. Rand will have to set him straight, and then Bale opens the meeting, announcing that he sees it. He sees it. The plan only, but the plan only needs minor changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is kind of cool. Let me read this part because I think it's interesting about Mat and what's kind of going on. So, Rand stood staring after Mat long after the tent flap had fallen to hide him, and Rand says, "I only heard the last bit. Was it all like that?" And Lan says, "Yeah, very nearly. It was all that way." So it's this sort of this game that they're playing. He's like, "Oh, like it would be like if all of a sudden." Sir Mat started talking about quantum physics in a way that was like, holy smokes, man, who are you? Like, I've never heard you talk about that.
Where'd that
come from? And so Lan is studying the map saying, okay, Mat is seeing things that he's looking at our battle plans, giving some commentary on all of that. And says he knows about miners and siege engines and using light cavalry to harry a defeated foe. Rand looked at him. The warder showed no surprise, not the twitch of an eyelash. Of course, he was the one who had said Mat seemed surprisingly knowledgeable about military matters, and Lan was not going to ask the obvious question either, which was good. Rand had no right to give the little answer that he had, so Rand thinks he knows a little bit about what happened to Mat in Rudion, by the way, and what has happened to him in Tyr. He goes through the red door in Tyr. Again, same thing in Rudion. He's got his Foxhead medallion. We talk about that in the beginning of this chapter, which is like Moraine can't touch him. The one power can't touch him. It protects him from Aes Sedai and channelers. He's got his Ashendara, and he's got some cool things. And he's got all of these thoughts and memories about battles and battle strategies and tactics. And Lan has picked up on some of that. And sometimes it just comes out. He just blurts it out, and he's just talking about things. And they're catching tidbits and helping, instead of him willingly help them lay out a battle plan or strategy, he looks at it offhandedly and says a few things that help Lan and Ruark and Rand plan this battle. So let me see here. Let's see. He could have asked a few questions himself, such as what did miners have to do with battles, or maybe it was only sieges. Whatever the answer, there was not a mine closer than Kingslayer's dagger, and no certainty anyone was still digging ore. Well, this battle would be fought without. The important thing was that he knew Mat had gained more on the other side of that doorway, Terangrial, than a tendency to spout the old tongue when not thinking. And knowing that, Rand would surely make use of it. And this is where Rand starts to think, I have to become harder. I may have to use my friends, and it's not something I want to do, but I must. I have to do these things. I had to use Perrin. I needed Perrin to go to the Two Rivers. I need Mat to look over these battle plans. He doesn't want to, but I need him to. And he finds a way, so...
And it is, I think it's smart too to have Lan kind of goes in and sort of asks him, just like, sort of like not like, not almost sort of like nonchalant way, and then that is what causes him to do it. And smart on Rand's part for realizing how to sort of exploit this thing that they're still figuring out with Mat.
Yeah, absolutely. So. It's so we're building up right here. So we're leaving you guys. We'll come back with extended edition and do, what is it, 43 this day?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back with that, and we can talk more about the battle to come and their preparations, Maidens of the Spear, Moraine's involvement, what's about to break down here. But yeah, it's a good batch of chapters. It's cool. We got I like when they're strung together like that, and we have a nice little catch up on Nynaeve and Elaine, and then back to Rand and Mat. So still no Perrin,
man. And then we only have no Perrin, which is okay. It's how it goes. We're 5 books in, but still don't know why Mat exactly has all these things going on. Right. Because we have plenty more books to go. Right. So, and hey, as we only have, although speaking of that though, we only have 2 batch of chapters left in this book. I'm on to book 6.
Yeah, exactly. Which is awesome. I'm pumped. I'm glad. This will be kind of neat. This is the ending of this book is awesome. It's awesome. And I don't know. So I say that and I can hear Sir Jimmy and some of our other friends going, seriously? People who have read this. Sir Matt is right here. This is exactly where he's at. He has not looked ahead or read ahead. So he is right with you guys as you listen to this. And when we dive into that next couple batches of chapters, things escalate quickly. I love it. I hope you guys are pumped for the ending of this book. It's just fantastic, in my opinion. And I want to get people's reactions. I would love to get people's reactions as they go through the different books. And did you like the ending? Is where you left lacking in some way? Again, it's one book and a part of a series. So for some people, this is not, the ending that they foresaw or the way they foresaw these things going. There's so many twists and turns that Robert Jordan, he takes us on this adventure that he feels like there's a lot of coincidence, there's fate, but yet we don't really see how it's all woven together, and he takes you on an adventure, and I love it. So,
yeah, it's great. Okay, Ez, we don't have a pigeon today?
No, nothing today. So again, that's why I wanted folks, if you have thoughts on the ending of this, even as we prep for the next two batches, if you're sitting there right there and you're a veteran reader and you've read this, or you've read ahead a little bit and you know the ending, send us a pigeon or send us a message about that. Or even the start of the next book. I'd love to start getting people's just reactions and your thoughts, just what do you think about this? Or if you're brand new and you're going through some of this stuff, even if it's stuff we've already covered and you're behind and you're like, well, hey, I'm back here in The Dragon Reborn or whatever, we take some time at the front of the show and we'd love to just sort of read and catch up on your feelings about The Great Hunt or The Dragon Reborn. We're always looking back and reflecting and trying to remember where characters are, and it's really good. I have to do this a lot. Go back and refresh myself and remember who these various individuals are and what the plot lines and stuff like that. It's a lot to keep up in the old noggin. And I do it all. Sir Matt, I try to do it all on the fly here. I try to do it all just from memory on the fly with a little wiki help when I need it. It is just a lot, and it's great. But wow,
absolutely awesome. All right, guys, with that, we want to thank you for answering the call. In our next episode, we will be discussing The Fires of Heaven, Part 6, chapters 44 through 49.
Yeah, absolutely. And friends, if you would, so we say this sometimes at the end of the podcast, if you haven't subscribed yet on Apple, kind of a big deal. If you could hit the subscribe button on Apple, on the podcast player, if you're on Google Play, whatever it might be, subscribing is great for us. It really does help the podcast. Writing a review is a big deal. And also sending us that message at thehornofvalir@gmail.com.
Awesome, guys. We will see you next time. And remember that the grave is no bar to our call.